Am I the a-hole for getting mad at my sister for telling my girlfriend about our family's wealth? My family's low-key wealthy, but my parents have made sure that we are never flashy about it. We live in the same place we've lived for about 15 years, don't have flashy clothes and cars, and generally make sure we're spending money on experiences rather than objects. Cue my younger sister, who is totally spoiled, and for some reason feels extremely entitled to her share of the wealth. She just turned 21, and I think part of it is her finally getting information about her trust and in general how we stand. I'm 25 and the older one, so I sorta know about all this for a while now. Anyway, long story short, my sister ended up going car shopping with my girlfriend for expensive new cars, Porsches. My dad had not approved anything, so I don't know what she's going to do. But apparently she flashed my dad's credit card and talked up the salesman about how much money she has to spend. My girlfriend was shocked that me driving a simple, unassuming 10-year-old Lexus will have a sister throwing $100,000 at a car. We had a huge discussion and ended up fighting about it. She was shocked at roughly how much money we had, and told me I was a tad selfish for not mentioning it when she had college and medical debt. Honestly, we've only been dating for 2 years, and I was thinking after about a year I would propose if things are going well and start this discussion. It's all happened a little too soon. I'm really mad at my sister and kinda laid it out on her. Told her how immature and selfish she was, and how she's undoing everything our parents worked hard for to install values in us. She told me I had to grow up and that I'm a wet blanket. Am I the a-hole here? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. The biggest a-hole here is your girlfriend for assuming that because you come from a wealthy family you're obligated to pay off her debt. Is this really the kind of person you want to have a relationship with? Yeah, that kinda caught me off guard. Could be a red flag, but coming from another thought place, maybe she just got caught off guard. If y'all have talked about her struggling with money, maybe feels that conversations you've had were insincere in some way due to you being extremely wealthy and not able to really relate to her problems. Your parents' money has nothing and will never have anything to do with her college and medical debt. That was a strange thing for her to say. I don't get why people would be mad at not being told about wealth. Are they equally as mad about not being told of a family debt? I'm blown away that she thinks she's entitled to it. I was thinking the same. It's telling that the fact that her knowing that you have access to money equals her debts being paid. The only reason you should disclose an aspect of your finances with anyone is if they are contributing to them, for business purposes or because you are combining household finances. Why would you need to know how much money you have? Sorry, she wants you to pay off her debt? Just because your family's wealthy? The audacity and entitlement she has. Not they all OP. Yours and your family finances are really none of her business unless y'all get married. Yeah, but I guess if my parents are okay, they're not. With my sister spending $100,000 on a car, her $20,000 medical debt seems quite small. But your girlfriend is not your parents' kid nor their responsibility. Yeah, it sucks for your girlfriend and your sister sounds spoiled, but your girlfriend isn't their family and are under no obligation to take care of her. I would be mortified and would rather die than to throw a fit over my wealthy boyfriend not paying my debt. Especially if it's only been 2 years and you all aren't even engaged. And like you said, your parents aren't okay with your sister buying that expensive a car. Why would they be okay dropping thousands on someone not their priority? Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my sister I'm not surprised she doesn't have a friend? Plus a little update. So I recently moved to my home country for college, and recently found out my 10-year-old sister did something that I'm pretty upset about. So my family had a party for me before I left, and near the end I noticed that my Nintendo Switch and its games were gone. I found it in my sister's room and packed it and went to sleep to get ready to go to the airport. The flight and everything else went fine, and while I was unpacking my stuff, I noticed I couldn't find my Nintendo Switch or any of its games. I was really confused, as I distinctly remembered putting it in my suitcase. I called my mom and she explained that my sister had taken the games and my Switch in the middle of the night and hid it so she could have it. My mom didn't know until it was too late, and just grounded my sister from candy for a week. I am fuming. The Switch was given to me by a friend, and all the games were either gifts or I paid for them. and now my mom thinks it's completely okay to let my sister take something that is mine. When I told her this, she said I was being melodramatic and territorial, and to let my sister have it. The next week, my sister called me and was being a snot-face about the whole thing, saying stuff like, "How does it feel to know you have to ask me to play games now?" I told her that she is an entitled brat and told her, "I'm not surprised you still don't have a friend." My sister was shocked and hung up the phone. She has been having trouble making friends for a while now and told me I'm a jerk. I'll admit, I went too far, but I don't disagree with calling her out and doing that. My sister has never done anything like this, and my siblings and parents are telling me I'm an a-hole and telling me to apologize and let her keep it. I'm conflicted and need to know if I'm in the wrong because I feel bad and need to know if I'm the entitled brat. So, am I the a-hole? Edit. My entire family isn't letting me talk to her until I say it belongs to her. Wait. Your sister effectively steals your Switch, phones you to brag about said theft, and somehow your mother thinks you're the a-hole for snapping back? Yeah, no, that's not how it works. No wonder your sister is struggling to make friends. Hard not the a-hole. Yeah, that's what I'm also thinking. Opie's sister stole from Opie and mom was like, I didn't give her any candy. She is just a kid. Leave it. What the heck is wrong with her? Correct their mistake. Opie's sister doesn't have any remorse about her actions. I also agree with not the a-hole. Opie's mom is going to look like shocked Pikachu when she never comes home from school again. Not the a-hole. Set up a conference call including your mother and a friend who gave you the Switch, and ask your mother to explain to your friend why she's letting your sister keep the gift that the friend gave you, rather than packing it up and mailing it to you. After all, you will have to explain why you don't have it when they talk to you and ask if you are enjoying their gift. Right now, the easy thing for your mother is to let your sister keep it, rather than dealing with the trouble of mailing it, or your sister's complaints when it is gone since she is there to complain in person. The embarrassment of the accountability to the person who spent the money for this may be motivating. That is a great idea. Let me try to set this up. Does your friend live near your parents? Is it possible for you to ask them to pick it up and pay them to mail it to you? I would do this if I hated my friend. My entire family would go ape on him and send him hateful messages, and he has no way of coming in without being caught. Edit. Thank you all for the support. I now realize I've been manipulated, gaslighted, and emotionally mistreated by my entire family for years. I'll make an update post on what happens. And yes, I am involving the police. I can't tell you all how grateful I am to finally grow a spine and stop making excuses for their toxic BS. Thank you all. Update. Well, the basic rundown is that my sister apologized after Joy, my cousin, told her what she did was wrong, and forgave me and gave my stuff to Joy to mail back. I reported theft to the police, and my entire family has been calling me and Joy homophobic slurs and screaming at us through calls. So is no contact for both of us. I'll try to keep you all updated on what happens next. Next story. Am I the a-hole for letting my mom find out about my pregnancy through Facebook? My mom has always been a difficult person. In the past, we have had a lot of struggles with her control issues and need to be the center of attention. 2 years ago, my sister was pregnant with a baby girl that she wanted for a long time. Due to a previous miscarriage, she told the immediate family but wanted to wait to make a public announcement for another month to be safe. My mom decided that she needed to tell everyone, and when my sister said that she'd rather wait, my mom posted the announcement on Facebook anyways. My sister had no idea until the congratulations text started coming in. She was devastated. I didn't speak to my mother for a long time. My mom never apologized or admit she did anything wrong and said it was her news to share too since she was becoming a grandma. Flash forward to now and I'm expecting. We wanted to wait until we were in a better place medically before making an announcement. Fortunately, we were able to keep it to ourselves for a while. When we started telling the family, we called everyone individually to tell them the news and to keep it private since we were making a public announcement later. I know this may have been petty, but I didn't call my mom. Every time I think about what happened with my sister, it still fills me with rage, and I had no desire to give her the satisfaction of taking away that experience again. So we made a public announcement without telling her beforehand. Naturally, she called us screaming when she found out, telling my husband and I how selfish we were and how we didn't care about family since she found out through Facebook. This didn't come as a huge shock. However, I keep getting calls and texts from extended family saying that I need to apologize and I'm punishing my mom for being excited about her grandchildren. I refuse to apologize, and I feel justified because of her past behavior. The rest of the family is saying I should apologize and smooth it over with her. Am I being petty? Am I the a-hole? Added to add, this is not the first time she's ruined someone's news. When my brother told the family he eloped, she told him that he made the family look classless and asked him what her friends were supposed to think. I truly don't think there's any way that she would have been happy if she didn't get to share the news in her own way first. Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. You taught your mother a lesson she should have learned a long time ago. Actions have consequences. And if she keeps giving you a hard time, tell her the same thing will happen when the baby is born. She will get the news on Facebook. Or give her the non-apology. I'm sorry you didn't get a chance to ruin my announcement like you did with sister. I'm proud of Opie for learning this lesson. My mom shared news of my pregnancy to our church group before I had even told any of my friends, because it didn't count since they were praying for me. Then stupid me, I texted all the grandparents to announce the birth and waited 10 minutes to be sure they had all seen it before telling anyone else. But I didn't swear them to absolute secrecy. So my mom texted all my siblings before I had a chance to do it myself. I was so mad, but Grandma was just excited. So OP, congrats on being smarter than me. Keep up the good work when baby is born. Who cares if she's pissed off? Not stay home. Yes, you were being petty, but in my opinion, totally justified here. She doesn't respect your or your sister's boundaries and requests. Why respect hers? Not stay home. Your mom has demonstrated she's not a safe person to share information with until you're good and ready to share it publicly. If she's upset about that, she needs to reflect on what she's done to damage your trust and what she can do in future to make amends. Not make it about her and her hurt feelings and what she thinks she's entitled to. Make note of the family members who are taking her side, or have at least decided it's easier not to upset her than to respect your wishes, and make sure they don't get any private baby photos or updates either. I think Grandma's demonstrated she isn't a safe person, period. She found out her daughter was pregnant, and her first reaction was rage that she didn't get to share this news. It tells me her first reaction is always going to be think of herself and her desires, not of you or your child. Continuing to have her in your life is going to be a constant battle to get her to respect even the most basic of boundaries. This type loves the battle because it keeps your attention focused on them, and your life circulates around them and their drama. Only you can decide if constant battle is worth what she brings to your life and will bring to your child. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for making my wife think our son was missing? My wife has a horrible habit that I discovered 2 months ago. We were ordering lunch on the Subway app, and I told her to pick the location that has a drive-thru. That way we don't have to go inside and take the baby out of the car just to clip him back in a few minutes later. She told me it's not a big deal to leave the baby in the car to run in and pick it up really fast. I had no idea she ever did this. I told her I was not comfortable with her leaving him in the car alone even for a minute, and she told me she's been doing it since he was born and has always been fine. She told me she does it to pick up food, run into the post office or pharmacy, etc. I was floored. We don't live in a horrible area, but it's also not super safe either. I told her to not ever do this again. She told me she never stopped to think about the potential dangers and that she would stop doing it. Well, yesterday as I was driving home from my brother's house, I spotted her car at the gas station near our place. It was parked in a spot up front and not a pump, so I figured she stopped in to grab some snacks, which we like to do. I decided to stop and go in, and say hi and get some food, and I pulled in and parked next to her. However, when I got there, I was furious to find our son in his car seat. The car wasn't even locked. I don't know what came over me, but in that moment, I decided to take my son and put him into my car. He's got a car seat in there too. I then drove to the other side of the gas station parking lot and waited for my wife to come out. It took 6 minutes for her to appear. When she saw that he was gone, she looked stunned for a second, and then started to frantically look around and cry. I didn't let it go on long. After this, I saw her pull her phone out, presumably to call 911, and that's when I pulled my car around to her. I parked, got out, and walked around to my son's door and opened it to show him to her. She looked extremely relieved, but that quickly turned to anger with her asking me why I took him and did that to her. I told her she needed to learn her lesson, and that she promised to stop leaving him in the car, and that she was extremely irresponsible. It was so easy for me to pull up and take him. No one else at the gas station even noticed. So if he really was taken, there would have been no help, and it would have been 100% her fault. She proceeded to call me cruel and psychotic and tried taking our son out of my car into hers. I said no and that I would be driving him home, and I left. She came home not much later but ignored me the rest of the day. She acknowledged me today, saying she wanted an apology, but I said absolutely not, and she's the one who should be saying sorry. She's been guilt-tripping me the rest of the day, saying no mother should experience the fear I put her through. Did I go too far? Am I the a-hole? Normally, I'm fully against game playing, but this is your child's life. I support your actions. Your wife is being hugely neglectful. Not to mention, it'll be warm soon, and being left in a hot car even for a few minutes can be deadly. Not the a-hole, and I wouldn't let her take him anywhere until she apologizes. I guess I should clarify that the car was running with the air on. I forgot to add that detail and was restricted by the character limit, but the car was on. It's a push to start car with a sensor for the key fob, so it'll stay on/running as long as you are close enough to the vehicle. I didn't see the keys in the car, so she took them inside with her, but didn't lock it. Well, that just brings up different safety issues. Seriously, your wife is 100% wrong. I'm a mom and my kid is 18. I still remember when I fell asleep driving with him on the Los Angeles freeway for half a second when he was an infant, and I was an exhausted new parent, and I shudder and cringe every time. Nothing happened, and I still wish I could take it back. Your wife must stop doing this. This is so unsafe. Even if nothing happens, all it takes is one concerned citizen to call the police about a baby left in the car to get CPS knocking at your door. And that's a mess you really don't want to deal with. Am I the a-hole for telling my sister to stop acting as if my fiancé were her son's dad? My 24 female sister, 23 female, had my nephew Joe during her first year in college. The father is absent in his life and only pays child support. She has always hated the idea of my nephew growing without a father figure, and since our only brother is 17 and our dad passed away 10 years ago, she dated recklessly for a while and introduced him to a bunch of dudes. 3 years ago, I met my now fiancé, Gabriel, 28 male. He's really sweet and adores my family. He's financially stable and is good with kids, has a bunch of nephews on his own and comes from a good, big family. We've decided to be child-free, and if something happens to my sister and a few of Gabe's siblings, we're meant to be their legal guardians. But for the past year, my sister has grown comfortable with pushing Joe around Gabe. She always invites him to my nephew's activities, which is fine, but she acts as if Gabe were her guest and I'm his +1, not otherwise. Plus, my brother used to be the one who got invited and he's not anymore. She asks Gabe to drive her and Joe to places, and my mom pointed out how they look like a family when he does it. She jokes about how much of a dad Gabriel is for Joe, and she had the audacity to ask him once if he was comfortable with adopting Joe, but she was drunk, so I'll give her that. Neither Gabe or I are comfortable with this. He doesn't know how to push it aside without hurting their feelings. Mom has told my sister countless times how this is inappropriate, but my sister always gets defensive and says that Joe chose him and it's not her fault. Things blew up last weekend when Joe asked Gabriel if he could call him dad, because Mom said it was fine. My sister was looking at them with the biggest smile on her face, and I could notice how my mom and my brother were expecting his answer. Neither of them agree with it too. He sat Joe in his knee and kindly explained him how he wasn't his dad or even a dad figure, that he was Anne's soon-to-be husband, and that made him his favorite uncle. That even if he wasn't his dad, he would never leave him and they'll always be best friends. Joe, being the sweet kid he is, laughed and smiled and said that it was okay. Then he ran to the living room to play with something. I think the situation resolved itself just fine, but my sister didn't like it and started to fight with us. My mom kept telling her to shut up, but she was saying things like, "What's wrong with you two? How can you say no to a little kid? He sees you as a father, so you should be proud of that." I had enough, but I told her that Gabriel wasn't Joe's dad, and that she needed to stop acting as if he was because it was honestly embarrassing. She called me a selfish C-word and said that I was jealous of her kid. I just rolled my eyes and we decided to leave after her. She later sent me a text saying that it was best if we step out of Joe's life for a while, or we will end up confusing him because he doesn't understand that Gabriel is not daddy. But as far as I could see, he got it pretty well. Edited to add, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to say that we're already Joe's legal guardians, but if something happens to my sister, and we hope it never does, we'll be taking care of him. Also, my sister is not right. I agree with that, but I doubt she ever gets violent. Now for the top comments. Not today, Hall, but you know your sister wants your fiancé, right? This right here. Sister is absolutely going to try to get fiancé to dump OP, if she hasn't already. As far as I know, she has never tried something like that. Neither my mom, Gabe, or I think that my sister might be emotionally interested in my fiancé. She only wants him as my nephew's father, but I don't think she's in love with him or something like that. I find it hard to believe she'd be pushing the dad angle without having any romantic interest in him. In any case, she could probably use some therapy to help with whatever issue she's dealing with. A normal person doesn't see their sister's fiancé as a viable father for their kid. Not today, home. Watch your sister. She is fantasizing about your boyfriend, and you aren't part of that fantasy. She's creating her own little family. Yikes. Poor Gabe. Also, poor Joe. The kid seems like a good one, but his mom will keep dragging him into these self-made miserable situations and keep pushing him towards emotional pain and turmoil. Not stay hollow P, but keep a discreet eye out for Joe. He's really an awesome kid, always laughing and playing. As hard as it may seem, my sister is a hell of a mother too. She takes excellent care for Joe. It's just the father issue that set her off. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my mother-in-law that she will never see my child? Not really my mother-in-law, but girlfriend's mom. My girlfriend Ella and I have been together for almost 4 years now, and we are expecting our first child later on this year. Ella's 5 months pregnant. As much as I love Ella, I cannot stand her family, especially her mother. From the stories I've heard and from my own experiences with her mother seems to be an extremely disrespectful person. Because of her attitude, Ella has significantly cut contact with most of her family. We also didn't really tell them that we were pregnant, but they found out through Ella's cousin. Upon hearing about Ella's pregnancy, Ella's mom has been pestering us about inviting us to dinner to congratulate and celebrate our growing family. It's a nice gesture, but I was hesitant to accept because of the way that she and the rest of Ella's family usually act. After almost a month of ignoring the invitation, Ella convinced me to take her up on it. The dinner was held at a very expensive, very fancy fine dining restaurant. At first, to my shock, the dinner was going well. Ella's mom apologized for her past behavior and stated that she wanted to be a good grandmother moving forward. Her sister also offered support in the form of babysitting, old baby clothes, etc. The conversation was friendly, and I was very surprised to not hear anything insulting from Ella's mom directed at Ella. When Ella stepped out to use the washroom, Ella's sister made a comment about her supposed weight gain and offered me diet plans and exercise regimen to prevent her from getting too chunky. Her mom also pitched in about Ella's greedy eating habits. Just to be clear, my girlfriend isn't big. She's very tall and lanky, and even if she was the biggest woman in the universe, their comments would still be unacceptable. Ella's mom and sister also asked me not to tell Ella about our conversation because she's apparently too sensitive. At this point, I wanted to leave. Once Ella came back, I announced that I wanted to leave the dinner early. Her family was surprised and asked me why, and I responded that I didn't see them fit to see my child and I wouldn't want to see them ever again. I was probably very impolite, but in that moment, I didn't care. Her mom was very upset, almost yelling in the restaurant about how I couldn't leave without paying their bill, as I was the man of the table, and how I couldn't make husband demands as a boyfriend. Meaning I can't forbid a grandmother from seeing her child because I'm not a true family. Again, I didn't care and I left with Ella. I later found out that Ella's mom's card was declined and they were forced to phone a friend to bring some money. Very embarrassing. Ella thinks that I could have been less harsh because now her sister is spreading rumors about her to the family. Not day home. So wait, Ella's family invited you to a swanky dinner, expected you to cover everyone's tab, and had zero backup plan for if you declined? Never mind the insulting Ella behind her back drama. That alone makes them the a-holes. Continue to ignore them and focus on getting Ella on the same page with you about what role they're going to be allowed to have in the kid's life, and how to draw boundaries because it doesn't sound like she fully realizes how messed up this all is yet. I think the saddest part about this whole situation is that Ella didn't really react after I told her what they had said about her. Her reaction was more like, oh, they're doing this again, as if she's heard it a million times before. All this to say, I think deep down she understands how messed up the situation all is. I think she just has hope that they would change. She's desensitized to it because she's used to this. I mean, this is the nicest way. Your girlfriend needs therapy. It's going to help her understand everything a lot more if she gets an unbiased professional opinion. Because the way her family acts is disgusting and not normal, and she needs to know that. I'm glad you had her back. Good on you, OP. She's already in therapy, and she's working on herself, don't worry. Not day home. So she invites you to dinner and then expects you to pay. That's rich. Sounds like Karma also joined that dinner party. Not even just a normal dinner. It was a proper, posh restaurant. Did I read at least right that you paid for yourself and Ella? Partly courtesy, but also because I would not want to owe someone like these people a new dime. I did not pay for anyone's meal. I actually just left, which was probably a really horrible thing to do, but I was so mad at that point. Not day home. They were just being nice to her face in order to get access to the baby. They only messed it up by being snide in front of you when she had gone to the bathroom, showing they hadn't changed in the slightest. I wouldn't be surprised if mother-in-law knew her card would decline and was counting on you to cover the bill too. Maybe you could have handled it a little better, but I don't blame you one iota for what you did. Cut them off and leave them cut off. You can't really control what they say about Ella. Anyone with half an ounce of sense will realize it's all BS though. Congratulations on your upcoming arrival, and good luck. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to pay my brother-in-law for babysitting my daughter? I, 34 male, have a 5-year-old daughter. My wife is deceased and my in-laws are my only supporters. Some days ago, I had an appointment with a dentist, and the babysitter who was supposed to watch my daughter called and canceled. I didn't know what to do, so I called my brother-in-law asking if he was willing to watch his niece till I get back from the appointment. He said he wasn't sure since he had a couple of tutoring sessions to get done. I told him to skip and I dropped my daughter off at his apartment then left. When I came back to pick her up in the evening, brother-in-law asked me to pay him for watching my daughter for 4 hours. I was taken aback and asked if he was serious. He reminded me that he had 2 tutoring sessions that he had to cancel last minute. And since I pushed him to stay with my daughter and watch her, then I need to pay him. I refused and said he was being somewhat greedy and an opportunist to even think sitting his niece would grant him easy money. He said it wasn't easy money, but time wasted in his very busy schedule. We had an argument, and I left with my daughter. He called my in-laws who said that he was in the right, and I should have paid him for his time and be appreciative of his efforts. I told them I didn't expect him to ask for money, but they said it's what I do with babysitters. Well, yes, but he's family, and last thing I expect from him is to ask for money for staying with his niece. Besides that, I had an emergency and couldn't miss the appointment knowing how hard it is to get another one. He's still insisting on being paid, and I keep refusing. At this rate, I think he's being ridiculous, but I don't know. It all seems to be a misunderstanding. Say I did pay him. This would set the precedence for him to keep expecting money every time. Am I the a-hole for not paying him? Now for the comments. I forced my brother-in-law to cancel 2 tutoring sessions, losing him money to make him watch my child. Then, instead of offering to cover the money lost, I refused because family equals free labor. Even when you inconvenience them. Fixed it for you. You're the a-hole. If I were him, I'd never sit for you again. You forgot to add my babysitter who I was going to pay cancelled. Opie, you're the a-hole in a way you will regret. Now, your brother-in-law won't be available as a backup in emergencies in the future, and you will be out of luck. Opie's in for a real surprise when he tries randomly dropping the kid off again, and brother-in-law calls CPS for an abandoned child. You're the a-hole. He said he couldn't watch her. You dumped her on him anyway. He had to cancel paid work. He is not trying to profit from you. He is trying to recoup his losses. Accusing the brother-in-law of being greedy and opportunist, when this man is out here trying to force other people to miss out on work and provide him free labor. Yikes. You're the a-hole. You're the a-hole. You lost me when he told you he had to tutor and you told him to skip that. Like what? Now, I never charged for babysitting my family, but I also would not have tolerated someone telling me to change my plans last minute to accommodate their emergency. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for saying I told you so when my wife got banned from seeing our grandson? My wife has been in constant contact with our daughter-in-law, our son's wife, about plenty of things. The very recent argument ensued after my wife kept insisting on being present in the delivery room despite getting a resounding no. My wife was having none of it, and my son and his wife changed hospitals to throw my wife off after she threatened to barge into the room. She eventually found out I didn't tell her and got very mad. I told her to stop and think, because if she keeps this up, she will lose all chances to see her grandbaby. She told me off and went to make a huge scene at a hospital my daughter-in-law was at. It did not end well, and my wife came home crying hysterically after getting chewed out by our son and kicked out of the hospital. Things remained tense till my son called to invite me to see the baby for the first time. He did not invite my wife, which sent her into a mental breakdown. I had an argument with her after she tried to guilt me into staying with her and shame my son for keeping his mom away from her grandbaby. But I just told her I told you so, and said that she had plenty of opportunities to get right with our daughter-in-law, but she blew them away because of her stubbornness. She started yelling about how unsupportive and cruel I was, just like our son to be siding against her instead of defending her, and staying home with her when our son banned her from meeting our grandbaby. I went anyway, and she kept arguing about me taking the wrong side instead of defending her. I feel bad for her, but at the same time, I think that she was being irrational and made this a competition, despite knowing how our son and his wife felt about her behavior. Not stay home. I'd consider a divorce over this, to be perfectly honest. I mean, honestly, she has effectively ruined all future holidays. What the hell? Your wife is being so irrational here, I'm a little worried for her. Is she this way about other things, or is this new behavior for her? You might want to see a medical professional with her. Not stay home. I was also wondering the same thing. This is off the charts crazy. Not stay home. There's been similar posts like this in AITA and Just No Mother-in-Law. And I'm so interested to know, cause it's never from the husband/father-in-law's perspective. Why on earth do you stay with this woman? Seriously, this can't be an isolated component of her personality, because this behavior is a pattern and an extreme one at that. So please, I gotta know, why are you remaining married to such a selfish jerk? Money, most likely. The older we get, the more difficult it is to divorce. Unless you've saved enough money for both parties to go separate ways, it can cause a financial blow to split your 401k and any other retirement savings in half. Sometimes it's easier to live with a certain amount of crazy, provided it isn't abusive, than to lose one's financial stability at an age where you don't have enough time to rebuild. Not stay home. I actually want to say thank you, because there are many husbands who would have thought that having their wives back meant going along with her bat-ass crazy, and you are an example of how that simply isn't the case. Your wife is abusive to your daughter-in-law, and you refuse to play a part in that, so thank you. You raised your son well, because he had his wife's back when she was in a vulnerable position, and you had your wife's back by telling her she was being an a-hole when she needed to hear it, even though it didn't make a difference. Bravo, OP!